guess your mom's a witch.
Your mom is not a witch. She doesn't understand you yet. You're a tomboy, you don't want to wear dresses anymore.
Tomboy's just another type of girl, but I'm not a girl.
I'm sorry, I don't follow you.
I'm in the wrong body, okay? I'm a boy!
Did you hear what I just said about Joe? She said that she is a boy.
You messed her up. I think it's best that you stay away. You've got one body, you've got one path, and God's got the game plan.
I can't stay here.
You really want to go with me? I'll be back. Be ready.
Joe?
You think our mountains are big here in Montana?
Yeah.
Wait till you see them in Canada. You just gotta go here, across the river. That's it.
I do not understand why you are not out there finding my kid.
I'm gonna do everything in my power. We are going to find your child.
Okay.
Am I okay? Look who I'm with. Look where we are. I am beyond okay.
Breaking news. An 11-year-old local girl, Josie Johnson, disappeared from her bedroom.
We're outlaws, son.
Now they're coming after us.
You understood what we were doing!
What was the plan? You were supposed to protect me.
Joe is Joe. It's not some lump of clay that you just pound into something.
They're gonna bring them both back, right?
And it feels like time is moving slow. And it feels like I
Joe! Did you just fart?
Hello, my name is Spiro Economopoulos and I am the Program Director for the Melbourne Queer Film Festival. What you just saw was a trailer for Cowboys, which is screening as part of MQFF Together from March 11th to 21st. And I'm really thrilled to have the writer-director of Cowboys joining me, Anna Kerrigan, who I'm going to bring right into the stream now. Anna.
Hi, how are you?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you taking the time out. And I just wanted to say that, I caught Cowboys sort of late last year and I really fell in love with it. I think it's such a wonderful film. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you so much. It's exciting that it's traveled all the way to the other side of the globe.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, it's really awesome. And we were just sort of talking before we started recording that we're just so excited to be actually showing this on the big screen because I think it really benefits from that as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I've only seen it at a drive-in at Outfest. I've actually never seen it in a theater with audience members. Yeah.
A driving would have been a great location for it, actually. I feel like it kind of...
It was so beautiful, but you just don't get the feeling of how other people are experiencing it, because everyone's in a car.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course. Unless you've got 20 people in the car and whatever. But
no, totally. And I was like sitting with someone who'd seen it as many times as I had. So, so we were like looking around. Like I almost wanted to bring a flashlight and be like, "Did that hit? Did you feel that?"
That's not creepy at all. It kind of looks
No, everyone's like, who is that? A security guard or the director?
Well, look, why don't we get right into it? And I just kind of actually want to start off with one of the key elements of the story, which is Sasha Knight, who plays Joe, and is so fantastic in this film. And obviously, the casting of Sasha is such a key component of this story. And in particular, I suppose, casting trans characters, it's something that we've all been... that's changed so much over the years, and obviously it's something that I think a lot of filmmakers take a lot of care and consideration with. Can you tell me a little bit about the process of getting Sasha into the film?
Yeah, of course. It is interesting because I feel like even in the last 5 years it's changed, right? And in some ways, it was really important to me to have a non-binary or transgender kid in the role, and we did a national search that with my casting director, Edie Belasco, that included traditional casting calls, but we also worked with GLAAD, who sort of advised us on the film. I don't know if you guys have GLAAD.
We know of GLAAD, though, yeah.
Okay. And we worked with PFLAG. They posted the casting notice, we also hit up just like community theaters, summer schools, any place we thought might have some like kid who was hiding from us. And it didn't necessarily have to be someone who'd acted a lot in the past. And obviously, because of the age of the kid, most likely they wouldn't have. But what is interesting is, you know, I think because the times are changing so much and kids are able to come out so much earlier, and their parents, and, you know, not enough, but parents are listening more than they used to. It wasn't a huge pool, but there was a pool of kids who wanted to be actors, who were, you know, out enough to feel comfortable putting themselves forward for the role.
Yeah, right. Okay, yeah. And obviously, I mean, I think what's really interesting about the film as well is that it's very much about parents' expectations of children as well. And I think that's kind of an interesting part of the story as well. And particularly, I think what this mother and father's own expectations about their own gender and how that kind of rubs against their kid, which I think is really interesting.
Yeah, that's something that we talked about a lot, especially with Sally, Jillian's character, you know, the prison of gender, especially in, you know, rural parts of America where, you know, I mean, obviously there's a spectrum anywhere you go, but, you know, it's a place where there's a certain expectation around like being a good mother, being a good wife. You know, you walk into some of these houses and they're so like ultra feminized with like potpourri and cinnamon smelling candles and like this sort of like over performance of making everything nice in this very strained way. So Jillian and I spoke a lot about that, and also just like how, you know, and I think this happens with a lot of parents who have kids that come out as trans or gay or just anything they didn't expect them to be. You have these ideas of what your family is going to look like and how your society is going to perceive you, and it becomes like an ego problem more than anything else, of just the fear of what's going to happen to your family and your kid. And you end up with parents who maybe, you know, love and accept their kids on some level, but act like almost like preemptively bullying them to not be themselves so that society doesn't do it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. The other thing I wanted to touch on, obviously, is that, you know, the central relationship really in this film is this father and son, basically, and it plays off like a really great kind of like a buddy movie, really. These two kind of people on the run. That chemistry is so great in the film and a really important part of the story. Did you work really closely with Steve Zahn, or did Steve actually kind of work really closely with Sasha in kind of getting that kind of chemistry and relationship on screen?
Well, they hung out a lot. We called them you know, Steve actually doesn't live in LA. He lives on a horse farm in Kentucky, which is part of the reason that Steve is Steve and that he's amazing in this role. Like the first time I talked to him on the phone, he was like, "Oh, excuse the noise, I'm feeding the animals." And I was like, "Okay."
All right.
I was like, "Yes," like he's perfect. But he's, you know, he's a horseman, and Sasha is an incredibly athletic kid. You know, he was like a rock climbing champion. And so we called them up early to get them on the horse, to make sure that they were comfortable, and to give them gun lessons. And so, you know, part of the reason I wanted them there early as well was so that they'd have time to hang out. And they had spoken on the phone, and, you know, Steve does also have that sort of playful, eternal kid vibe to him. And he's really, really good with kids. He's also a dad. So they just clicked, and it happened really naturally. And
wonderful. They
were playing, you know, they just had a great time together.
Yeah, it's really palatable on screen. I think actually it works really beautifully. We'll go deeper into the script, but just sort of as a sort of starting point, what was the kind of the genesis of the story for you? You were the writer director of it, and you won the best screenplay Tribeca for this, which is really awesome.
Yeah, it was cool. It was very surreal. I mean, like most of the festival play of this film, it was over. I think they sent me an email. You know what I mean? Like normally you'd be like in a room and like have a cocktail and like have a cute dress on or whatever. And
you could have had a cocktail at home, really.
I know, that just seems so sad to me. I've like really, not that you need to know this, but not that I was a big drinker before, but I feel like I like don't drink anything now there's just something very sad to me about drinking alone. You know,
I wish I could say the same, to be honest.
well, some people, it's a coping mechanism. It's really wonderful. I mean, you guys also haven't had the same restrictions as us, which has been pretty cool for you. Lucky you. But yes, we did win Best Screenplay. In terms of the impetus for the script, I went to that part of Montana, which is the Flathead Valley, a fair amount as a little kid with my best friend's family, and I always loved it. And I was in like a weird transitional move. I had been in theater in New York, and I was both making the move into film and like web series and stuff, and moving back to LA where I'm from. And it was just, you know, like I was leaving behind a lot of friends. Like it just kind of felt like a new chapter, and it was kind of tough. And for whatever reason, even though I was back in my hometown, I kept thinking about Montana and how I wanted to be there. And I started this script with a father and a son on horseback.
All right. Okay.
And I knew they were just running from something, and that they were modern outlaws.
Yeah.
And they wanted to be in a cowboy movie, you know? Yeah. And that sort of, so it was a very messy script. And I wrote out of order. Whenever I would raise a question for myself within a scene, like, oh, wait, what's the mom like? Then I'd write some scenes with the mom. And so it was really messy, really crazy. I didn't share with anyone. I didn't have an outline. And then this is the story that revealed itself to me, heavily edited.
Yeah, right. And how sort of early into the writing process did you think about Joe being trans? Was that something that was there right at the beginning, or obviously it sounds like it wasn't the initial idea, maybe, or?
It wasn't. I mean, I figured it out pretty quickly, but like the initial image was this father and son. Oh. And on the surface, honestly, it seemed kind of basic. Like I was like, am I writing a movie this basic? Like this seems a little weird for me, you know? But then I started thinking like, well, who are these modern outlaws? Like why, you know, what would make these people feel like outsiders in this part of Montana? And no, you know, I love this part of Montana and I love the people who live there. But as I became a teenager, you know, and I'm from LA and liberal and, you know, into social justice issues and have gay friends and, you know people within the community starting at a really early age, I started to realize, talking to people, they're like, oh my God, they've never met a gay person or a transgender person ever. And they have like horrible preconceptions, ideas, and, you know, some people are very bigoted. And so I think that my sort of like internal conflict about this community kind of came out in the film.
Yeah, fantastic, right. And the other thing as well is obviously, I mean, this is essentially a kind of a revisionist Western in its own way, which I think is really fantastic. And I love the way that you play with the expectations of that genre and kind of subvert them, and particularly the way you subvert the idea of masculinity within this genre as well. Were Westerns something that you thought a lot about when you were writing the story? And were there any particular sort of touchstone sort of films that you thought about, even visually, when you were kind of putting it on?
I mean, I did. It's funny. I'm so resistant to calling it a Western for some reason, even though maybe I called it a Western originally. But like now, it's just, I suppose it's a modern, it's almost... Yes. Okay. To answer your question, I thought about Butch Cassidy a lot because I like, when it comes to the Western genre, I am much more interested in like the character-driven version of any genre movie. You know, like if it's just archetypes, like count me out. You know, like, and I feel that way about like a Sergio Leone movie or whatever, where I'm just bored because I don't know anyone and I don't really care about anyone, and it's all style. So for me, Butch Cassidy is a movie that, you know, it's a love triangle, but it's really about these two guys that love each other.
Oh, yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
It's very like, you know, that was something that I thought about a lot. And at one point they even referenced the movie, but it felt too like on the nose to me. And then in terms of vibe, and I think this speaks more to sort of the more intimate scenes at home, I did think about The Last Picture Show, which, sidebar, I don't know if you listen to this podcast. There's this podcast called You Must Remember This that Karina Longworth does.
Yeah, love it. Yeah.
So
that particular series was so great.
The Polly Platt series.
Yeah.
Well, now I feel like I should start saying like Polly Platt and Peter Bogdanovich's The Last Picture Show. Because she like seriously, the academies to like petition everyone to add her as a co-director or co-creator or something.
Yeah, she was obviously such a driving force behind that film and a lot of the other films as well.
Yeah, no, totally,
yeah.
But anyways, sorry. One more thing I was going to say is, the sort of West. I wasn't like yes, it was very Westerny, but for me, it was like these are characters who want to be in a Western, and then it's sort of like they're approximating the Western, the fun part of a Western. And then it does sort of, the realities of being in a Western kind of like overtake them as it goes along.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that kind of plays out really well without spoiling too much about the story. But the way that it unfolds is kind of really powerful as well, actually. And like with every great Western, you managed to include a fart joke in it as well, as we saw in the trailer. So, good on you.
Right.
So obviously, last year was, a year from hell, let's just be honest.
Yeah.
And, lots of plans for all of us for our festival, for your film had changed, and things just did not turn out the way we all expected. I mean, what's been the knock-on effect for this film for you? Have there been any positive outcomes from the way things have changed a little bit? I mean, positive is probably not the right word, but I mean...
Yeah, I mean, look, I think festivals... I mean, it's made me think a lot about how people view movies, right? Because the reality is if you have a successful movie at this point, most people are going to be looking at it at home. Yeah. And I grew up without a ton of money, and there were times when like we just couldn't go to the movies because it was too expensive to bring a family of 4. And so like the TV for me was like my way into movies. Yeah. And so I thought about that a lot, like that, though selfishly, I want the experience of sitting in an audience with my friends, and I want my friends to tell me I'm amazing or whatever, hopefully. But it's also very stressful for, like, what if they didn't like it that much? That anxiety was relieved, which I suppose is a positive, where people can watch it and like it or not like it. And I'm not there to witness it. But the accessibility that has been the sort of unintended consequence of all of these film festivals going digital is that it's financially more accessible. It's, just more people are able to see it. And so that's exciting to me, that aspect. But yeah, it's like, I mean, I just miss my friends and parties.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think being in that cinema space is something that we just can't replicate at home as much as we try, really. So
no, definitely not.
No.
Not in this living room. My TV is right over there.
I'm the same. It's very up close and personal with me as well. And do you have any projects that you've got working on at the moment that are coming up, or?
Well, I don't know what's going, but I'm busy. It's such, I mean, I really feel like I just released, I did just release Cowboys, but like there's sort of like ongoing work, but we're really coming, I think, to the end of that. Now I'm excited that it's reaching an international audience through festivals, and knock on wood, I think we are talking to some Australian distributors, but we have UK distribution, and I think we have distribution in Spain now. So it's that's exciting. But I'm attached to a director on a project that I'm rewriting that's a thriller that's set in the Southwest. Wow. I have another project that I'm writing that we're looking for that we're looking for producers now. and I have a TV show I'm developing. So it's like all things that are in the development space because I haven't had time really to focus on anything. And who knows what'll go first. So
and it's heartening to know that we've all managed to find ways to work through this, which is really kind of key element of it as well. So
yeah, definitely.
Well, Anna, look, I'll let you get back to your day. Thank you.
I'm just cooking eggplant, not much of the day.
Eggplant's my favorite. Thank you so much for joining us. As I said, we're so thrilled to have the film as part of our festival. Cowboys is playing on the 16th and 20th of March at Cinema Nova. Everyone needs to see this film. It's really, really wonderful. So thanks again.
Thank you. And I would have loved to go to this one. So next time.
Absolutely. Yeah. Best of luck, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks. Thank you so much, Spiro.
Bye, Anna. See ya.
Bye.